Let's look at Slaine, the Horn God, a 3-volume graphic novel illustrated by Simon Bisley. I'm going to focus mostly on the illustrations. It's written by Pat Mills. I have some comments about the writing. It's a good story. At the time, it was never my cup of tea, this kind of Celtic story, but Pat Mills created 2000 AD, which was a very famous British series of comics, and they published Judge Dredd, and so he wrote a lot of the stories there. And Simon Bisley was an upcoming artist here, and when I came across this, man, like as a teenager, it blew my mind. I remember distinctly this book here, and I believe this issue, which is falling apart, the first one, I traded from my friend who had it, because the price tag I think was much higher. It's probably like a $10 price tag back in the 90s. So and it came all the way from Britain. So anyway, I traded for it, and I still have it. It was mind-blowing. I never seen like fantasy paintings in a comic book, so everything inside is it's painted. So let's go through this first one. Flip through. And the first issue is more like airbrushed, which might be noticeable, because this is what I noticed. This is what I know about Bisley. Well, he was kind of like a young biker type guy out in Britain, working class type dude, tough guy. You saw the picture on the back, good looking guy. And apparently, in one of the interviews that I read in Wizard magazine, he had a motorcycle accident as a teen and was bed-stricken for about like months, apparently. And then that's when he took up art, like obsessively. And I always feel like in your teenage years, when your mind develops, that's when all your skills and your potentiality come together. And this guy just went to town. He absorbed everything from mostly Frank Frazetta, and he just, muscle magazines and stuff like that. And he got good at like, realistic texture. That's his thing. It's like lighting is good. He's all right with lighting, but he's not like Frazetta with lighting. He's great in freaking texture. And like, look at this, like he's just doing, like, this is phenomenal, this little painting here. It's it's pre-impressionist, it's just it's a nature painting. Little airbrush in there too, but gosh, it's so gorgeous. And so many different mediums. He's just throwing everything at it, like obsessively. So this blew my mind. Like, I couldn't get enough of this, and it just gets crazier and crazier. Like the detail, like look at this. This is like, that arm there, I feel like the lighting on that is right out of like a muscle magazine. It's just perfect. So he was probably the kind of like a built guy, worked out, so using himself as a reference in some cases, because a lot of the faces kind of look like him. Just like the Frazetta faces look like Frazetta. Like, this is crazy stuff. So the plot is, I don't know, he becomes king or something. And then there's all these kind of like, witches and things. And this is his war spasm. Like when he goes to battle, he'll take a freak and he has superhuman power. Oh, I love this. I remember in high school, I made like my own character in the same pose, but I mean nothing close to this. But I did an acrylic painting, and it was like a big painting. And this is cool, like different expressions. Oh, there's a bit of Bill Sienkiewicz, especially with the spray painting going on and like the hard lines. So he was taking a lot of contemporary influences and meshing them in his style. I love this stuff, because his early work is so kind of like lean, like all the musculature is like lean, because he himself got fat. He probably wouldn't like that, but he himself, like, because I met him at a convention eventually, and I got this book signed. And he's just like a big beer drinking guy. As people get, like they don't obsess like a bodybuilder to try to maintain what they have when they're young. But I mean, I used to love this stuff. It's like so amazing and so fine. Like, it's airbrushed, but everything is just such fine little lines. And like tiny detail. See, he's still good at that. Like in his recent work, he's great at like just zoning in. But he fudges a lot of things. Like he's not. It's kind of nice about his work because, like, it's not always perfect. There's like really great stuff. Like this is phenomenal. This page spread is like maybe my favorite of all his books. Love this, love that. Like look at, the water there, the lighting, the realistic skin tone. Again here, like realistic lighting. Just beautiful stuff. Just phenomenal stuff. And then those tight muscles, I'm sure he was looking at muscle magazines and really thin waists. I love that. I used to draw similarly like that. I copied a lot out of this book. And then it was fun to like see, like loose lines, ink lines, and then penciled in contrast, to like highly rendered, like, realistic texture, the wetness of the lips there, great lighting on the eyes, gleam of light off the nose, all very, very realistic. And then pencil shading, nice contrast, watercolor. Even this is lovely right here. So he's really trying a lot of new things here. And then this is like out of a Disney scene, Interesting compositions. The trees in like different directions, that's interesting. So this is just some goddess. I'm not going to focus on the story because it's really the art that I love the most. I love this drawing. This is one of my favorites. And then now it gets really cool and wild. I used to draw this too. I love this. The composition of this is amazing. This I loved. And then there's some H.R. Geiger going on here. And here. I think there's a bit of that in like the second volume too. I love this guy. This guy was crazy good. This is the actual horned god. And this sequence here with the dancing is really fun. Really great. And then this kind of line work you see when he does Lobo. Because Bisley was well known for drawing Lobo and co-creating Lobo. Well, no, he didn't, he didn't co-create Lobo. He popularized him in the miniseries. and then you get to see that in his pen and ink work. This kind of, it's hard to describe. It's like Mobius meets Sienkiewicz, it's kind of loose, but then he's got like this dot type thing going on, the way he shades, because he doesn't have any formal training in shading. So everything he's doing is like by mimicry. And I used to love. I thought this was the coolest friggin' thing. My friend and I used to draw this all the time. We used to listen to Metallica and draw this, basically. This is a great painting here. So I mean, there's this, like each panel almost could be a heavy metal record cover, and that's what I loved about it. And it's amazing how much things change. And then you could see because I guess these take a long time and he's taken in so many influences, this looks so different. I'm trying to place the influence here of the colors and stuff. It's hard to tell, but he's looking at different artwork and then it's influencing his colors. And I'm sure he's using different medium too. I feel like there's some pastels going on there. This is definitely Sienkiewicz, a feel, and I love it's so much to look at. Celtic shapes everywhere. He's just going to town. Beautiful veins on the arms. This is a great spread here. I love this one. And this is interesting, right? This is out of some cartoon. I can't think right now of all the influences, but I mean, some of it, with the patterns, almost maybe Klimt. There's some Klimt influences here that he might have been looking at. Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff here. I love the caricature of these. Interesting lighting there. And then this last part kind of almost looks, I guess it's purposely unfinished. It's like a stylistic choice, but it does finish kind of feeling rushed, but these are still great drawings. Still very great drawings. I mean, sexy stuff, with the lighting on the boobs and stuff. That's crazy. Yeah, and this is very Geiger-ish. H.R. Geiger, who designed Alien. Very cool. So much cool stuff to look at. I highly, highly recommend this book. This series. They have collections. They reprinted it in a smaller format, but if you can get this larger format, it's the better version to get. And it's not maybe now they're expensive, but they're not really that hard to find.